Hi everyone. Hi. Is another amazing session here today. This is the Ask Me Anything. This is the study series session with AWS where you can ask each and every one of us question. And the good thing about today is that we have amazing guests and we have we are jumping into an interesting series that if you know every one of us are making use of AI in one way or the other. But today is going to be amazing because the speakers we have here are not just speakers, they are professionals in their field, AI, machine learning, all those amazing stuff that is trending right now. We are going to be diving deep into this. So I'm going to be bringing our speakers on stage. Now we have two speakers, not just one. So be ready to tap into the knowledge of these amazing speakers. Remember, I've been saying the word speakers, not just speaker. So we have two professionals in their field, AI, machine learning, when it comes to working with data, when it comes to work with Amazon Web Service, these people are the go-to individuals in which you can tap in their knowledge. So I want you to sit back, relax, and then most importantly ask your question, ask questions. So you're not just here to just hear from us, you're here to learn. So sit back, relax, and join us today. I'm going to be bringing our guest on stage right now. Hi Frank. Hi Daniel. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? If you can hear me in the comment section, can you put in the comment section that yes, I can hear you? Daniel, can you hear me? I feel like
Maybe he's having
you
network
all
issues,
can't
but
hear me. Can you hear me in the comments?
I yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Yeah.
Hi, Frank. Okay. How are you
Hi,
doing, Frank?
good
How
evening.
is your day?
I'm
Or
doing
how
really
was your day?
good.
Sorry.
I'm doing really good.
Okay.
All right, I'm doing
All
really
right.
really
Daniel,
good.
can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yes. Absolutely. I can hear you. So I want Frank to go first. I would like to give an intro of your profile, but no, let's hear from you. So can you give us a brief introduction about you, what you do, and how you got to this present stage? Please just give us a brief introduction, Frank.
All right. Hi everybody. Just to say, I'm trying to connect. My camera is not working, so if you can't see me, my camera isn't connecting right now. My apologies. So I'm Frank-Felix. I'm an AI ML engineer from Nigeria. I currently work with Cocoon, which is an advanced AWS partner. Um, Machine learning is kind of like something that is and it's amazing to be one of those guys that actually I won't say started, but I've been involved with machine learning right now. It's pretty interesting. Uh, I just joined the AWS Community Builder program for machine learning and AI engineering. So I'm hoping to collaborate with a lot of people, and I hope a lot of people learn from this session today.
Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Thank you. And yes, we are glad that you are a part of us, and we are glad that you will be sharing your knowledge with us today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to do this with us. Thank you so much. Now, let's go over to our other amazing guest. Hi, Daniel. Can you hear us?
Hi. Yeah,
Okay,
I can hear
thank you.
you.
Can you do us the honor of giving a brief introduction about yourself, what you currently do, and maybe a little journey on how you got here? Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. So my name is Daniel. Um, I'm an I'm a data scientist and AI engineer at Cocoon. Same as Frank. Cocoon is a consulting firm for an advanced AWS partner. Um, so I'm in the data and AI engineering team where I do a lot of data stuffs, from data science to ML to generative AI, anything data basically. My journey has been, like most people, has been fun, challenging, especially now that uh, the field is rapidly evolving. The data and AI field is rapidly evolving. So I'm a learner too. So yeah, I'll keep it like that.
It's amazing to hear you say you're a learner. If you're a learner when it comes to this, then a lot of us here are, I don't know what we'll call ourselves, maybe amateurs for you to be a learner. Thank you so much for your brief introduction. Really appreciate. Thank you, Frank. Thank you,
Yeah.
Daniel also. So, can anyone just pop in the comment section what we are currently speaking on today? If you've come across the flyer, Okoyemi, Chubuke. Hi, Chubuke, nice to have you here. If you've come across the flyer, Toib, can you just. Oh, someone said I went for coupons Tessa interview last week Saturday and I have their worker speaking here. Oh, best of luck, happiness. Best of luck. Best of luck. Okay, so if you can just put in the chat session what we're speaking on today, who knows, there might be a prize for you. What are we speaking on today, guys? And not just speaking, is going to be a practical session. There's going to be a prize. Okay, we are talking about building a serverless. I was thinking someone would have dropped that. We are talking about building a serverless what? I'm hoping someone would do us the favor just to make this interactive. We are not just here to speak, we are here to interact. I thank you, Aurelua. Yes, we're talking about building a serverless Gen AI quiz application using AWS. Guys, please, we want this to be interactive as much as possible. So I'm going to hand over to our amazing speakers today who will do justice to this. Who will do justice to this. Please listen attentively, jot down, because at the end of this amazing session, as usual, during our study series, there is a prize. So that is when we know who and who is building along with us and who is learning along with us. So I'm handing over to our amazing guests, Daniel and Frank. Thank you. Please go ahead with your presentation for today.
All right, thank you very much. I will be sharing my screen and would get right into it. So please do well to tell me when you can see my screen.
Absolutely.
All right, so like she said, we would like the session to be very, very
Yes.
interactive. And disclaimer, this session is not for AI engineers or machine learning engineers. I bet even if you didn't understand any how tech works or how programming works, you'll be able to follow the session. Right. All right. So we'll be talking about building a serverless generative AI quiz application, and we'll be building this using AWS. So there are going to be 4 parts to this amazing session. First of all, we'll understand the problem, we'll understand what we want to build, why we are making some certain decisions before we go ahead to build. Right. Then in that session, we'll show you how this is built, and then we'll go ahead to see how we can then deploy what we have, and then we'll go to the last part where we'll actually see the application run and work, and we can play around with the application we have just built. Right. All right. So I always like to start with stories. I don't think I ever do any sessions without putting a little bit of story, because I understand that a lot of people like to follow with stories. So I'm Frank. I did my best to try to make that guy there look like me, but it didn't work. So I met Ada, and Ada is a teacher in Nigeria. She owns a learning center where students study different kind of topics. So from sciences to the arts to sports, programming, think of anything, right? So it's a very large learning center, and a big challenge for her is after she has taught, or some of the tutors have taught, the students needs to they need to test that the students understand whatever they are doing, right? And the best way to do that is with practice questions. But there's a big problem. Big problem is there are too many students, and it's becoming a hassle to generate questions or create questions that are very different and test the ability of different students at the same time. So it's pretty difficult. So Ada says she wants a system that is able to dynamically generate questions about any topic, just about any topic, and is able to evaluate the students' performances. So after a lot of her research, she heard that AWS could help her with this particular solution, right? But she's concerned. She's concerned about one thing. She's concerned about cost. So wow, this amazing system is really huge. What if I build it and it's costing a lot, right? And the second concern she has is that she doesn't have a technical team. Remember, it's just a simple study center. She doesn't have a technical team, or she doesn't want to employ a technical team that is going to manage all of the infrastructure and all of that supports the system. And as an AWS builder, she brings this problem to you. So let's see how we can help Ada with this particular problem. So basically, if you look at the requirements, or if you look at what the story that we just shared, we understand that Ada has a problem. And I know everybody in the room knows that that problem can be solved with AWS resources. So we need to design a solution that would solve that particular problem. Right. So as a solution architect, you looked at the problem, or I looked at the problem, and I said, oh, for you to have this kind of application, first of all, mm, just like any application, you need what you call a user interface that is able to collect the user queries, because you don't know what kind of question the user wants to get passes questions from. You need an interface to be able to display the questions, and you need an interface to be able to show the answers, so students are able to evaluate and understand why they got certain questions wrong, right? And that is on the user interface side. Again, you need some sort of resource that is able to generate any question and the respective answers, right? And you need some sort of resource that provides explanations to these answers. And from a little research, you know that one of those things you are looking at is what you call a large language model. So I know a lot of people have used ChatGPT. So if you have used ChatGPT before, I don't think there's anybody right now that hasn't used some of these services. ChatGPT to Anthropic's Claude to a lot of large language models or GPT models that are available for use, right? So you are aware that they can solve this particular problem. Again, because of Ada's concern, right? We also need an application or that is able to save cost, right? You need something that is very cost effective. You need something that only runs when you want it to run, right? You need something that is management friendly, right? No operational overhead. I don't want to manage servers and all of that, right? And you also need that kind of resource to interact with LLMs that are available, right? So if you can find resources in these three buckets to answer these three distinct questions, right? You need something that is able to generate question. You need an application that runs with these requirements, and you need some sort of a user interface. Then you have your answer to these questions. And voila, we have the answer to those questions, right? So on the AWS side, the resource that answers the question generation bits to the problem, a resource that is able to generate any question and answer, a resource that is able to also provide explanations to those questions and answers. More importantly, a resource that has access to any type of LLM that you have. The answer to that question would be AWS Bedrock. So AWS Bedrock is AWS native service that allows you to connect and interact with any LLM of your choice. Right. So and again, so for the guys that understood the requirements that I spoke about for the application to run, something that is cost effective, something that is management friendly, you want to be able to just write a simple function and just throw it into some sort of resource and is able to run. The answer to that question is AWS Lambda. Right? So pairing these two services together, you are able to build a serverless generative AI quiz generator application, right? And of course, we also talked about a user interface. So I'm not so much of a JavaScript guy or a web development guy, but there's a Python framework that helps us spin up simple applications just like this, and it's called Streamlit. So ideally, maybe you want to build your front end with maybe JavaScript, a client-based front end, and you can just host it on S3. But in this case, we'll just be building a small Streamlit application to be able to use whatever we have built with AWS Bedrock and Lambda. All right. So just to note, for those of us that have used ChatGPT, or let's say the most common example is ChatGPT, right? So let's say you want to be able to generate a question like, "Who is Lionel Messi?" So let's see. Right. So if I go into my ChatGPT, so think of your AWS Bedrock as something that gives you access to LLMs, just like ChatGPT, and you can send in a query and it gives you a response back, right? So Ada wanted to build something like this, or the developer going in wanted to build something like this, and he wrote a prompt, and you will see what prompt engineering is when Daniel is talking about it. I says, please generate a question about Lionel Messi. And on the first attempt, it generated the question in this format. Question one, who is Lionel Messi? A is a banker, B is a footballer, C is a dancer, right? And the developer says, oh, I like the format he gave me this question and the answer, right? And he tries to embed this into his application, right? So which means that he tries to format it so that the user is able to see these questions and the following options, right? So he's able to format it in this mode. So he will then build an application that is able to query this string and put these different parameters in different places so that the user is able to pick different options. And that's fine. The next time he tries to query the LLM in the same fashion, what happens is that he brought the same question, who is Lionel Messi? But it changed the format, right? It changed how the response is coming back. And our traditional software applications don't like this. Why? Because LLMs are what you call, they are unpredictable, right? So they are probabilistic, which means that they may change the way the format or the response is coming, right? And your traditional applications would not like this, because if you need to populate a list of options and the format is coming is different every single time, your application will break every single time. So the answer to that problem is what you call tool calling, and Daniel will do justice to answering what tool calling is when he's doing his demo. So, but essentially, what we want to do is to make sure that Bedrock is returning a JSON or in a structure that is consistent, right? So with Bedrock, you're able to define what you call your JSON schema, and it always returns response in that particular schema. That way, anytime you generate question, it always goes ahead to return in that particular option, and your applications will love that because it wouldn't break, right? So at the end of the day, this is what the solution architecture diagram would look like, where a student is able to access, we call the application Quizly, right? And is access Quizly, is able to collect the user query, is able to display questions, is able to show the answers, and your Lambda is able to reach AWS Bedrock to be able to generate questions, and the user or the front-end application is able to interact with your back-end application through API calls and serve through API gateway. So we'll go ahead to see how that's built in Python very briefly. Then we'll go ahead to see how it's deployed, and we'll go ahead to then use this beautiful application that we have built. Thank you. Daniel.
Thank you, Frank. Before Daniel cuts in, can we answer Happiness' question?
Okay, what's the question? I can't see
Is
it on
on
my
the screen
end.
now.
Okay. So basically, Streamlit for UI, Bedrock for API integration, and AWS Lambda for backend. Yes. So AWS Lambda would run the backend resource or whatever is going to run at the backend, and AWS Bedrock for integrating with different LLMs. So AWS gives you the access to interact with any LLM of your choice. There are many different types of LLMs, right? So Anthropic Cloud has theirs, And with AWS, one of the benefits is that you can just plug and play and say, oh, I don't want to use this LLM because it's not really doing what I want, and I switch it out. So yes, the whole backend is with AWS, Bedrock, and Lambda. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, please proceed, Daniel.
All right. So thank you very much, Frank. So, Frank has done justice to everything we need to know. Please can you confirm if you can see my screen? I'm sharing
Not
it right
yet.
now. Okay, just give me a minute. Give me a minute first. Okay. All right. So how about now?
Yes, yes, we can.
My code environment,
Yes,
right?
but it's a little bit low.
Yeah, maybe Daniel, maybe you should zoom in a little bit so we can see it
Yeah.
better.
Okay. Let me try that now. Um, okay, give me a minute. So how about now? Is this better? So it's better.
Let's hear from
Is
the
it better?
audience. Let's hear from the audience. If it's better for you, or please put it down in the chat session. Let us know if it's clear, because this is a very important part for everyone. So, is this clear enough for you? Please, a yes in the comment section would do. I think we should proceed. Let's just proceed, Daniel. Okay, yeah.
All right. This should be bolder,
Yeah,
right?
it's okay. Oh, they're saying no.
It's okay
They're all
this way.
saying no.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for Frank. Thank you to Frank as well for laying the foundations. Um, when to use what Bedrock is, when to use Bedrock. Then Streamlit too as well. So I'm just going to just take us through the end-to-end process for building a quiz application while taking advantage of the amazing resource that Bedrock gives to you and I. And then I also show us the deployment strategy that you can use when you want to deploy this application via Streamlit. And then just interesting techniques, right, that we are going to learn while I just take us through the process. All right, so Frank again did justice by helping every one of us understand the problem statement, and which means that it's going to be easy for everyone to follow me while I go through the techniques that we employed while building this particular application. All right, um, so this entire application, you can divide into three, right? We have the controller, we have the application, and we have the model, all right? And the application basically is how users are supposed your code. That's in other words, your user interface, while your controller just simply just involves your various functions or endpoints, as we put it, that helps you connect your logic, your code backend logic to your front end. And we'll be starting from the backend logic, which is like something that's which is the obvious starting point. All right, and I want us to take notice of something. I'm using Python, right? I'm using Python as my primary language, and that's because it's diverse in its libraries, resources, such that it can be able to. It has a very large community, and in most cases, the things that other languages require you to try and build from scratch, via Python, you have libraries that you can employ, that you just need to import, and then voila, you can just use. All right. For this particular use case, it's important that we had to install and import a fast API library. And fast API library is a library that helps you deploy your Python application in manner of minutes. All right. And there are also other libraries that I had to install. There's Mangum, there's Boto3. And yes, so starting from Bedrock, which is a key part of this particular application. When you want to utilize Bedrock in your Python application for using its models or foundational models as its inputs, you need to install and import Boto3. The Boto3 client is a service that helps you utilize Bedrock within your code environment. And if you notice that while I imported Boto3 here, I used Boto3 to instantiate my Bedrock runtime. I'm in here, and also indicating my region name. So at this point, I've connected to my cloud service already. And then you'll notice again that I've been able to identify the particular model I want to use. And for this particular application, I made use of the Anthropic cloud model. The cloud model is one of the best models out there. And so I decided to use it. There are other models within the Bedrock ecosystem. All right. And so, all right. So, yeah. So using these libraries, it means that I can then use Bedrock within my code. All right. And the next stage in my code development is my tool. All right. Um, and I cannot talk about tool calling if I don't talk about prompt engineering. Facts from LLM 101 is basically prompt engineering. It means your ability to be able to guide your model, your large language model, to be able to give you what you need, be able to answer certain questions, to be able to provide certain responses. Your ability to be able to prompt your model. And prompting is as easy as just giving directions, telling it what you need specifically. And for a particular use case, if you can, okay, yeah, so I'll just go through it summarily. You'll notice that I had to first of all tell the LLM what it is. The quiz bot that provides multi-choice questions, answers, and explanations to users based on the context provided. And the goal is to help users understand the concepts and presenting questions of varying difficulty levels. So another key part of our application development was deciding that why don't we make it fun, right? Why don't we add different levels of difficulty, such that when you choose easy, medium, or hard, the LLM is able to understand that okay, when you choose easy, it means this user wants very simple questions. But when we take it to very hard, right, it means the user is asking for very, 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 very complex questions and answers. All right, so we're able to give it some set of guidelines that it should follow. And then we also decided to say, oh, let's also tell it the way we want our output format to be. Okay, it must use the tool quiz generation. Frank already talked about tool calling. All right, and I'll just explain it briefly. So he mentioned that LLMs are very, very probabilistic, right? You cannot really tell for certain related questions or prompts. They can just give you one particular data format this time, can give you a JSON format this time, then give you just a normal string another time. And so it's important that if you want to be able to embed LLMs or AI codes like this in a well-established system, maybe a web application, you should be able to. It's important that you, as the engineer, you're able to control what the LLM gives back to perhaps your front-end engineer, all right, or another, developer. And that's where tool calling comes. And in the most simplest sense, I want us to see tool calling as the ability of the LLM to use a function that is outside of its inherent abilities. And this function that is well-defined inputs and outputs. So the function allows the AI conform to a particular rule, which is certain input structure and a certain output structure, and a lot of processing task in between. So for our tool, we had to write, we had to create a quiz generation tool. We named the quiz generation tool. It generates quiz data, then gives it a description. And by the way, all this you get within your Bedrock documentation, how you are able to create your tool structure for the particular, for Bedrock, right? So Bedrock helps you abstract the process, because normally every large language model have their different tool structure. But with Bedrock, it helps you abstract that process, and you just need to just call the tool and then swipe or swap the model you're using. So in our case, we had to give a description that we wanted it to generate multi-choice quiz questions with options and correct answers. This allows the LLM focus on this particular description and not just, go rogue, basically. And then we also defined questions, give it to also explain that a question should be in question text, the type, and then their options. If you notice in our options, we identify that, we need a maximum item of 4. So it's also important at this point that we had to tell the LLM, if you are giving option for a question, we don't want to just give in a particular question, give 3 options or give 2 options. So this is what you need to focus on as, as a prompt engineer. Everyone is a prompt engineer, all right? So the more information you give to the large language model, the better it's able to give you what you need. In our case, we identified that the maximum items in the options should be 4, the minimum items should be 4. All right, so it should just 4. And our correct answers, when it's time to give the correct answer, I should give whether it is A or B or C or D amongst the options, and then should also give us an explanation. All right, and then again, like I said, it's not just output, it's also input. So it means that when the LLM is to get a request from the user, it's expecting okay, what the tool requires to be able to give the response is question text, the options, and the correct answer. Then what is requiring from the user is just your questions, basically. Question in this case can just be what do you want to generate a quiz on? All right. And so we already understand how to prompt engineer your model to be able to give you what you need. And then we pass you through the Bedrock function and indicating our model ID that we declared before, and adding our system prompts. Again, also declaring the tool that we're using, which is a quiz generation tool that we've declared earlier. And then like that. So this way, we've actually built our LLM that has been prompt engineered. We built it already, that has been prompt engineered. And then the next stage, once we are done with Bedrock, the next stage, all right, is the fast API application. And for us to be able to deploy the application that we've just built, we need a means of exposure. How would people use it, right? And an important way of doing that with Python is to use fast API, where you can declare certain functions or certain request functions. And in this case, we had to declare a generate quiz post request function that just takes in quiz parameters, and then return the answer of our large language model, which in this case is the parameters that our tool, right, generate quiz tool, has has given out. And then again, it's not just about generating the quiz, right, the questions and the answers, and and the explanation. We want to, since it's a full-fledged application, we want a means where people can submit. So which means that there has to be a submit post request as well. And what this does is it just gets the response for each of the questions that the user has given, and then take that and compare it to the correct answers that the LLM had already generated earlier to find the score of the user. So that's what this function is for. And then the get answers. All right, so the get answer function is just to get your answers and the explanations, basically, so you can see the answers and explanation. All right, and then model, like I said, we've declared the idea of our model here is, again, in Python, we make use of Pydantic. What Pydantic does is just help manage the issue of inconsistent data responses and requests. All right, and that's what we'll be able to declare here, so that we are controlling what is going inside our code and what is coming out of our code. All right, so now we are done with the model. The final point for this particular application is now implementing the user interface, and we're making use of Streamlit. Like Frank has mentioned earlier, Streamlit is a very, very swift and fast way of implementing. Just a quick way of just spin up something over the night. You can just spin up an application, mostly for POC. All right, and we're able to implement that. And the interesting thing with Streamlit is that you can deploy it, and so anybody can access it as a public URL. And so yeah, so we're able to do that, and I'll be running the Streamlit application now. All right, so yeah, so before I do Streamlit, I'm going to show us how the Fast API works, Fast API application works. All right, okay, so I would run that for us. Okay, run that for us. Yeah, sorry about that. So I showing us how to test the endpoints that we've created. Endpoints, post request endpoints are a way for people to use your application, right? And we are all doing well so far, right? And so all right, so I'll be running that now. Okay. All right, so our first API application is live and it's running okay. Let's see how it works. All right, so this is our fast API application, and we've deployed it already, and Frank will be coming to explain that process. All right, and so like I said, like I explained before, these are generate quiz endpoints. This is how maybe a front-end engineer would use your application that you've just created in a manner of minutes. All right, and all you just need to do is to deploy this as we've deployed, and they will just consume your endpoint and use it as you've described. Now, if you notice, this is a request body. Now, this has already given us a structured way for us to give the AI set of instructions. All right, so let me, for example, let's say a description of a quiz we want to generate. Let's say we are giving, let's say animal science, for example. Let's just give something abstract, right? We don't have to write on a difficult level. Let's make it hard. And let's say number of questions, let's say 3. All right. Now, this is a structured way. Anything other than this, the LLM will not work well with it. And so, which is why you've noticed it is structured. This has to be conformed to. And let's execute. Let's see what happens. All right. Let's see what happens. All right, yes. So our application is ready. Our quiz application is ready. Um, so for every quiz I generate, there's a quiz ID, and I can see my questions. So if you notice, you can see the structured response. Now, this is the way this is where we described it in our code. All right. We said there should be questions, there should be options. All right. Then the correct answers and explanations. If you can remember how we defined it, um, okay, I will define it here, and this will be the response, right? The questions, the options, the correct answer, and the explanation. So it's following everything that we've indicated in our tool. So we can see which of the following. First, let me just pick a question at random. Which of the following is not a function of rumen in ruminant animals? Fermentation of plant material, absorption of nutrients, production of vitamin K, and secretion of digestive enzymes. And then the correct answers in this case, D. So it means the answer here is right secretion of digestive enzymes. It explains. So it's not just giving the correct answer, right? Because a proper quiz application should actually help the student learn or the user learn. So it's explaining that the rumen doesn't secrete digestive enzymes. Its main functions are fermentation, absorption, and microbial synthesis. So we've all seen how we've been able to translate from using Python, what you know how to understand that Python is a very, very important resource for implementing a quick application like this. And now we utilize Bedrock, then where Fast API came in the loop, and then us testing out our Fast API endpoint. So I'll be reverting to Frank to show us the deployment strategies that we used via AWS. Frank. Frank, are you there?
All right, thank you, Daniel. Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you, Daniel. I guess the demo gods are with us, so the application is working. So you've tested the endpoint. So Daniel is the backend developer or the generative ML engineer that has built, or generative AI integration specialist, or whatever you call it, has built this beautiful application. And now I'm coming in as a DevOps engineer to see how we can deploy this to the AWS cloud using Lambda. So it's to Bedrock on the code level. So Bedrock gives you the Converse API to be able to interact with Bedrock. And there are so many things you can do with Bedrock. You can check out the documentation. So I'll be sharing my screen now to see how we can deploy this to AWS very briefly. Then I think the most interesting part is to look at playing around with the actual implementation from actual application from the user interface point of view. Right. Okay. So here is my AWS console. So you don't have the codes. I think we'll be providing a link to the GitHub repo to try out the demo that we have just built later. Um, so I think I have the code open here, the same code that Daniel just demoed. Please, can you see my screen? Yeah, can you see my screen, Daniel? Give me a second, let me click.
Yes, we
Yes.
can. We can. Yes, we can.
All right. Okay. So I want to deploy this to AWS Lambda, and there are different ways to deploy to AWS Lambda. And I'll also be working with the AWS documentation. So documentation is really good to follow when you want to deploy an application like this. Right. All right. So I'll be creating a Lambda application, and let's create a function. Let's call it. So there are different ways you can deploy your Lambda application. One way is to deploy your Lambda application with a zip file, or if you create a zip file. And the other way to deploy it is if you are deploying a container image to Lambda. So in that way, the container image is already pushed to ECR, and you just tell Lambda to fetch from ECR to get the image. But today we'll be deploying a zip file to Lambda, right? So one way you can just, instead of a zip file, you can also just copy your code if it's very short and simple, and just paste it directly on Lambda, and you see how that works. But today we'll be deploying with zip. So let's call it my quiz app. and the code runs in Python. So Daniel is the developer, and he told me, "Oh, I wrote this code in Python, and the version I'm using is Python 3.11." And for Lambda, you need what you call an execution role, right? So what I'm telling Lambda to do here is to please create a new role for this Lambda execution. And so for those of us that are familiar with IAM, right? So he's going to create an IAM role that Lambda is going to use to access other resources. And I will go ahead to create my function. Give it a second to make this very quick. Okay, so I have my function started, and there are a couple of things I need to do. So let's say I have a very simple function, a function lambda handler, and it's just to print something. I can just come here and change whatever this function is doing, or add the actual implementation here. But we have our code already written in VS Code. I want to be able to move that. Give me a second. Yes, move this code that Daniel has written to AWS Lambda. Right. So what I will do is to just follow the documentation, as simple as that, and I'll be able to deploy my code to the environment. Right. So the first thing I may want to do is make a package directory. So my code, every application has, I would always say, has three essential parts, right? There is the code, just like Daniel has written. So all of this is code, right? There is what you call the dependencies. So like Daniel said, you are not writing all of the code from scratch. Some of the codes are already written in forms of what you call a library, right? So you are importing some of the library. Example of a library is Fast API. But Lambda is not aware of all the dependencies you need. You need to be able to install those dependencies or package those dependencies so that Lambda is able to use it. So I want to put my dependencies in a folder called package. Right. So I'm going to make a directory package. And if you notice, there's a new directory here, package. Right. So again, the next thing I want to do is to install my dependencies. So they already gave you a function here to install dependencies. But what I want to do is to do something a little bit different. I will just go down a little bit, and I'm going to get the exact one that installs for the current um, for the exact architecture I'm using for my Lambda, right? Because sometimes when we just do this, what happens is that there are a lot of some mishaps. So I rather just be very sure and define some of these parameters myself. I'm going to copy this, and I think yes. Um, so this is the exact code, but I made a little modification to it. So I have what you call your requirements.txt file, where you define all the requirements for your application, right? And what you can just do, I'm telling pip to install from the requirement.txt file and install this particular architecture, right? x86 64. Right? So what I will just do is to go ahead and run this. And what it does is to install all of this into packages. Yes, so you can see all the different dependencies that my code currently uses. And you may ask, wow, your requirement had only 4, but now I'm seeing a lot more dependencies. It is because applications or dependencies usually have their own dependencies, so they would install their own dependencies along, right? So I'll just go back to following the instructions in the documentation. The documentation is really, really important and the fast way to go. Right, so what I'll just do now is I want to zip this new file that I just created with all the dependencies. Like I said, I'm deploying with zip to Lambda. So I'll go ahead to exactly create a zip file that has all of these packages within it. Now it puts the packages in the root folder, right? But again, we don't have our code yet, so we have dependencies, right? The next thing we want to add is the code. Right? So we want to add the code. So Lambda here assumes that I have a Lambda function.py, but I don't. I have two different files, model. So I'll just copy relative paths, and I also have my controller that Danny has given me, right? So I'll just copy the paths and I'll go ahead to run this. Exactly. So now in my package, my zip file, I have the dependencies and I have the code. So what I will just do is to go to my new Lambda I just created and tell it I want to upload code from a zip file. And I think I have it here, the new one I just created. Exactly. So open, and I would save. So mind you, if this is above 10 MB, Lambda will not allow you to upload the zip directly. Although I tried it one time and it behaved a little different. It allowed me to do that. But sometimes you would have to upload to S3 first before you are able to deploy to Lambda. And if you notice, all the packages I installed are directly in the roots of my Lambda function, and I have the code that Daniel just gave me, controller.py, and I have model.py. All right. So first thing I always like to do, because I know that Lambda by default has only a 3 seconds timeout. So what I would do is I will edit this, and I would say make it 5 minutes. But I know my function will return before 5 minutes. So I will just do that, and I would say save. But before I do that, I will come here to my Lambda execution rule. So let me save this. So your Lambda, for it to perform any function or get to any resource, has a role, right? Has a particular role, and it uses that role as sort of an ID to say, oh, I'm authorized to take this certain action, or this is me, and I'm authorized to take this certain action. So one resource on our environment that Lambda needs access to is Bedrock. So we need to give our Lambda access to Amazon Bedrock. And what I just need to do is to add an inline policy, and I would explain what this inline policy is. Give me a second. Yes. Okay. I would see what formatted. Yes. Okay. And an inline policy. JSON. Shrunk. Okay. Then here. Give me a second. Shrunk. So it's well formatted. Give me a second. Source. All right. I think that's good. That was not the issue. I think it was just I like it formatted this way. Is he having those issues? Save this, the resources. Okay. So what I'll just do is to say next, and I would call it Bedrock access. Right. And I would create that policy on my Lambda. So that way, Bedrock has access to, Lambda now has access to reach the exact AWS resource that I need as Bedrock, right? So I've already set up, I've done my configuration here to increase the timeout, and I've also added the right permissions for this to work. So again, I need an endpoint to be able to give to my developers and say, oh, this is running on the cloud now, right? So one thing I can do is there are two options. I can add a trigger, and I would say my trigger is API gateway, right? But AWS has done something fancy for me. It's called the function URL. So I can come here and actually create what you call a function URL directly on this my function, and it gives me an endpoint as quick as possible. Under the hood, AWS has abstracted the need to create an API gateway. But for some case, if you need more delicate control of what is going on, sometimes you would want to create an API gateway. So I'll be creating a function URL for now. I'll say the authentication is none. And for additional settings, I already handled cross-region resource sharing on the code end. If I can go to the code, that's what this is doing. So I would just leave that out and I would save. Right. And what happens is that it gives me an endpoint, and I can click this endpoint. And what happens is, give me a second. Interesting. Give me a second. Hmm. So I guess it's having issues with the dependency that was installed. Okay, sorry. Just the last thing to configure. I so that's why CloudWatch is really important. So it's telling me it's unable to find Lambda function. Right. So in my code, what happens is that Mangum handles the handler for me, right? In my code, right? And on by default, what AWS has configured is that my handler, my code handler is this lambda function stock lambda handler, right? So the if you are building a simple function, you can just do this. So what I just need to do, tell lambda what exactly my handler is, right? In this case, my handler is inside controller, just like here. The name of my file here is controller.py. So my handler is inside controller, and the name of my handler as identified in my code here is just handler. So I just need to change this to handler, right? And I would save. So what then happens is once you update my function, let me go and rerun. Yes. So we didn't define any routes for the defaults. I just need to check out my documentation like Daniel showed you, and voila, you have your endpoints just like Daniel says. So just like Daniel shows you. So what I just need to do now is to copy this endpoint that we have here, and I will just have to share it with Daniel. So thank you very much. So we'll now see how this endpoint is used in our application, in the actual Streamlit application. Daniel, I've shared the endpoints with you. So you can share your screen and let's play around with the application on Streamlit. Hi Daniel,
I got
I
from
can't
my
hear you.
local environment here.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Okay, okay, all right. Let me share my screen then. Yeah. All right. So can you I'm sure you can see it now, right?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, I can see your screen. So the stream it application
Yes.
is
Yes.
up.
So we can see that this exact local environment that I was able to spin up from my computer was the same that Frank was able to also spin up from the deployed URL. And so let's see how we can be able to. So this is my Streamlit application. Um, I did not deploy Streamlit for now, but I'm using the endpoint that Frank has generated for me so that I can use it within my Streamlit application. Like I said, it's an easy and fast way to spin up any ML or AI application, basically. Anybody, it's not just for professional engineers, right? Even you yourself, you can spin up a Streamlit application. All right, so um, like we've seen from here, we can see now that while I'm using the endpoint description, difficulty, number of questions is the same that I'm using here as well. The description, the difficulty, the number of questions. So let's pick something.
Daniel,
Let's say um,
yeah, can you hear me?
yes.
Yeah, let's play a game. Maybe we should ask it to give us questions for AWS Solution Architect Associate and put it on
Yeah,
maybe
yeah, that
hard and see whether
yeah.
they can get the answers to the questions right.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense, right? All right, so uh that'll be very interesting. I think we'll have to put it on at an easier and at an hard though.
Yes.
Uh, yeah.
Just associate
Mm.
so it doesn't bring up professional questions. Let's see. Let's add associate.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Let's leave it as easy for now. Let's just generate, let's say, four questions is enough so that we don't spend a lot of time. All right. So I want us to watch how Streamlit is. So this is generating the quiz and very seamless. All right. So you see, interesting. It's easy, of course. A lot of people should get this, right? All right. So these are the generated questions. So can anyone give? So the first question is, what is Amazon S3? Anyone in the audience? All right. Uh,
Yeah, I don't know anything much. I can see the answers. I think the answer is A. I think the answer is A. I'm guessing.
all right.
Let's wait for,
Let's try that. Let's try A. Right. At the end of the day,
or should we tell them that if they have the answer to
yeah.
any of these questions, they should pop it in the chat?
Yes, yes, they should.
Okay,
They should.
Yes.
guys,
Yes.
let's play along
They
with
should.
this.
Okay, the second, which AWS service is used to create and manage virtual machines? Anyone? You can pop it in the chat though. Did anyone say anything?
John says A, but I think he's answering for the first question.
All right, all right. What about the second?
I think the answer is the second one.
Okay, the third. What's the primary purpose of Amazon VPC? Anyone? If we put cash reward now, I'm sure the
I know.
chat room will be bubbling. All right, so let's, because of time, let's just speak at random. Okay. Yeah. So this is the quiz. Notice there are 5 questions, and let's submit.
Oh, I
All right.
think
So wow, our score is 3/4. All right. So it means that we missed
one
a
question.
question. Yeah. So let's look at the correct answers. All right. So we got it. Frank got the first one correctly. So yeah, and this is an explanation to why Amazon S3 is the correct answer to what is still to the first question, and sorry, why scalable object storage service, right, rather is the answer to the first question. Then the last second one is which AWS service is to create and manage virtual machines, EC2, correct, and what primary purpose of the VPC. Correct. Yes, let's look at the questions. The question we got wrong. Which AWS service is used for distributing content to end users with low latency? So we chose B. B is Amazon EC2. Of course, the answer is Amazon CloudFront. All right. So the interesting thing from this application is that it doesn't just stop here, right? I can go back to generate a new quiz. It takes me back to my very first interface. Let's try. Let's from Frank. Let's push it up a bit. Um,
Let's make
let's look
it
at professional.
AWS AI services instead. Then we'll put it on hard and let's see.
Okay. All right. Okay, that works then. That works then.
So as you can see, we can
Uh,
use this application to actually prepare for your coming AWS exams. So you just need to tell it what you are studying for and the difficulty level, and let's see. AWS very hard,
right.
interesting.
Very hard. I hope I'm able to get some of the questions. So, all right. So it's cooking. It's cooking. All right. So we'll get the questions in a couple of seconds now. All right. Yes. So, um, very hard indeed.
So
All right.
which
So,
AWS service uses transfer learning to fine-tune pre-trained models on custom data sets without requiring machine learning expertise? Right. So deep racer is for um, reinforcement learning. So that would be A.
your SageMaker. Mm-hmm. Then, which AWS service AI service combines NLP and ASR to enable real-time multilingual subtitling for live audio streams?
So speech recognition to
Right.
enable multilingual subtitling. So that should be transcribed.
Mhm. Transcribe, yes. Then, which AWS AI service uses reinforcement learning to optimize complex systems and processes in industrial settings?
That should be deep racer.
So we have deep racer. Yes. And then which AWS AI service can perform unsupervised anomaly detection on multivariate time series data from IoT sensors?
That
Um,
should be
so we have
forecast.
Lookout, we have Forecast, we have SageMaker. Yes. So um, we cannot see how complex these questions are. They are very, very practical, right? So which AI service can automatically generate, like summaries for long form content with while maintaining factual accuracy and coherence? We have Amazon Comprehend, Amazon Kendra, Amazon Lex, Amazon Textract. Frank, can you do us the justice to this?
Yeah, I'm waiting for someone to drop the answer on the options. I think we have been picking the answers by ourselves. I think they are dropping the answers. I'm just
Mm.
seeing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, actually.
Okay, so has anyone dropped for the very last
I
question?
think
Aura
Oroluwa
Aura
says
says
D.
D.
Um,
Nwachukwu
Okay.
Ocean.
Chibuke says number 4 is D.
Okay. 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 Let's see that then D. All right. So let's submit. Are we good to go?
Now let's see.
All right.
Ah,
Oh
let's see the correct
no,
answers.
this can be true. This can be true.
The answer is D. Recognition.
Mm,
Mm,
hmm.
that's a bit tricky.
All right. Number two. So so you see that the explanation for question two. So explanation for question one says a Amazon recognition custom labels use transfer learning to fine-tune and pre-train models on custom data sets without requiring ML expertise. And we chose SageMaker Autopilot. All right. So question two, which AI service combines NLP and ASR to enable real-time and multilingual subtitling? We picked Amazon Transcribe, but it says okay, yeah, sorry. It says a combination of Amazon Transcribe and Translate with Media Libs enables real-time multilingual subtitling for audio streams. All right, I think this I have to start using this to write my AWS exam. So,
All right.
which AWS AI service uses reinforcement learning to optimize complex systems? So we went with AWS Depressor, and it's actually AWS Panorama can use reinforcement learning models to optimize complex system. Um,
So these are
all right,
pretty
then last one.
very hard, right? So it's able to understand. If you change it to simple questions, it's able to understand the context and
Mm-hmm.
give you it's a pretty good use case. So all said and done, I think if we go back to Ada with this application, the initial story that we told, and we say, "Hi Ada, this is the proof of concept for your application you want to build." Right. So Ada is able to see how beautiful this system can work for her teaching center, and she can then say, "Oh, let's scale up and build this application." Right. So the simple architecture that we deployed right now just uses Streamlit to talk to Lambda, and it talks to Bedrock, right? So this is for POC. Like Danny, we have just built a simple POC. For a large scale application, let's say where I want to register ADA students, want to be able to know what personalize the questions to students' weaknesses, a lot more services are going to be used. Maybe you store the students in some of the students' records in RDS, maybe some of the questions will be stored in S3 to be able to use for later if you want to personalize the questions. But for this simple application to show that this can actually be done, this application would work. So did we solve ADA's problem or not? Let's see in the
Yeah,
chat.
of course we
You are there
yeah we
and you
did.
are satisfied with this application, maybe a yes or a no.
I'm not exactly a Dashab, I'm Daniel, but these are some of my problems. Yeah, these are some. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So thank you very much. Thank you, Daniel,
All
for
right.
the
Thank
presentation.
you, everyone. Yeah,
Well,
thank you,
thank you,
everyone.
Daniel. Thank you, Frank. Really appreciate you in to share your wealth of knowledge with us. One of us, I just have advice, right? About this video again, even after this session. So speakers, mentors. Okay, John says yes. Yeah, Ada's problem today. Ada pay us, even though we got 0/5 in our quiz. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate. So, before we end the session today, our usual, for us to be able to be sure that you guys learned something today, we will go into our quiz session. So, are you ready? Are you ready, everyone? If you can see my screen, please let me know you can see my screen. Are you guys
Oh, Obina says we should use the app for the quiz. I think I'm ready to play.
okay? But with a winner. So how do we get a winner? If we use the app for the quiz, we can't get our winner. We actually need a winner for this.
Always saying we should restart.
What's Zara saying? Because I can't see the comment section right now, please.
Yeah, he said we should restart the quiz. Um,
Okay, you guys have not joined yet. Oh, happiness is still talking about that. Okay. Um, guys, I'm restarting the quiz and I need you to join as soon as possible, please. I'm restarting, so please get ready.
yeah, I can't see the QR code again.
Yeah. Please let me know when I should start. Okay, I can see Henry, Frank, Chi, Oracle. So if we have about 8 players, I guess I will start. Okay, I'm ready to start, guys. I'm ready to start. 8 players already. Oh, one person drop off. Are you guys dropping off when you should be joining? Just 6 players ready. 7 now. I need one more person for me to start. Okay. I guess I will start. We're running out of time. Okay, I'm starting now, guys. So you need to be fast. You need to be fast. Okay, time's up. Oh, well done, well done, well done. Four people got this right. Well done. Now we are moving to the next question. Are you ready? Understand that not just you picking the right question, but you also need to be fast. Henry, Henry is leading at this point. Henry followed closely by John Idowu. Next question, please. Question two. Everyone has answered. Okay. Oh, eight people choose AWS Lambda. Two people choose S3. Congratulations to the winner for this. Yee! Johnny Doe. Well done, well done. Johnny Doe followed closely by Fish, followed closely. So, Johnny Doe, congratulations. Hope you keep this up to the next question. Next question now. Time's up. Wow. Two people chose the wrong answer. Six people chose correct answer. Now let's see. Oh, one other person chose the wrong answer also. Johnny Doe. Oh, fish. Fish is rocking the longest streak. Wow, wow, wow. Congratulations, Fish. Hope you keep this up to the next question. Question number four. We have two more to go. Time's up. Time's up. Oh, seven people choose the correct answer. Three people choose the wrong one. Okay, let's see who's winning. John, Johnny Doe has taken over. John has taken over. Now, this is the final question that will determine who our winner is. This is the final question, so I need everyone to be ready, not just in picking the right answer, but also how fast you are. It checks how fast you are. Are you ready? Question number five. This question was more points. You can see that. Time's up. Eight people chose the correct answer. Two people got the answer wrong. Now, let's see. Fish. Wow. Fish, congratulations. 449 points. Well done, well done, well done, well done, Fish. I think we are supposed to sing stand up for the champion. Yeah. Congratulations, Fish. Congratulations. Yes, 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 yes. Congratulations. Oh, someone was asking for the link. Oh, so sorry. I could not read the chat at that moment. That is what the QR code is for. Oh, so sorry about that. But yes, join us tomorrow again for an amazing session. So to Fish, I need you to send your email to AWS Cloud Sec West Africa at gmail.com, just as it is right here on the screen. Please send your email to AWS Cloud West Africa at gmail.com. And yes, our next session is tomorrow. And the topic is building a simple AI agent using Amazon Bedrock. Tomorrow, join us, and I'm going to pass the information along so we get the link ready to share with you in the chat session so you can join the quiz if you're unable to use the QR code. Okay. Um, Let me see. Hi, Frank, are you here? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All
I saw the
right.
question
Okay.
already. Uh, okay, so Opeyemi, no, right? So these three services you mentioned, Lambda, S3, and Bedrock, are three different services from three different buckets. So Lambda is a compute service on AWS. And what it does for you is to abstract the need to use a virtual machine. Right. So it's a serverless. So when you say serverless, doesn't mean that there's no server. There's actually a server under the hood, but you're not managing it yourself. Or neither do you know what server it is. Right. So S3 on its own is a storage service, right? You just use to store, you just store an image, you want to store a what else? Images, videos, text, any type of objects, that kind of storage. So it's not you are not substituting Lambda for S3. When I mentioned S3 was, or you can host, because of how S3 works, you can host your static web pages directly on S3. So it's possible to build your front-end application that interacts with our backend Lambda, but we host it on S3 and we make API calls to the Lambda. So yes. So Lambda, you are not replacing S3 with Lambda with S3. They can work together. So you host your front end on Lambda and your backend, or sorry, you host your front end on S3 and your backend on Lambda. And for Bedrock, Bedrock gives you to LLM, so it's on the AI side. So you can use three of them at the same time. S3 for your static web page, Lambda for your backend, and your Bedrock to make API calls to your LLM. So those three services together will work fine.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. We are 30 minutes. We have spent a lot of time, but I'm sure every one of us got value for our time, and most especially our speakers today, Frank and Daniel. We say thank you, thank you, thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. We learned so much today and really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to spend time with us today. So, to the audience today, we have another amazing session, and it is on AI also, just like I said earlier, building a simple AI agent using Amazon Bedrock. We spoke about Bedrock today, but we are going to use that in building the AI agent tomorrow. So join us tomorrow, same time, 6 p.m. West African time. And this is for you who is currently not following us on social media. Follow us on all our social media handles. Use the our link tree. Go through our link tree to get all our handles. Please make sure you follow us. We have amazing sessions coming up. Our study series is ongoing for now, so you'll be learning a lot. Um, thank you, Aureluwa. Frank, Chibuke is asking if we could get the repo or source code.
Yes, so just be on the would do that. Everything will properly documented and sent out.
and sent it.
Maybe some sort of a exactly we'll send it out.
Yes,
Thank
it
you,
can be
Chidubem.
sent maybe on the community or sent via email. Our current leader or Luba will do justice to that. So we don't want to reach more time. Thank you so much, Frank. Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you. Really appreciate you. And have a great weekend. Happy Easter, everyone.
Thank
Happy
you.
Easter. And please make sure you go to church in this period. Thank you, everyone. Have a great one. Thank you. Bye.